Hi and welcome to this latest in a series of videos where we will be introducing you to the basics of programming in Python. And in this video we are going to look at selection. And if you missed maybe the previous video on looping and iteration, I suggest you go back and maybe have a look at that one first. There's a link to that at the top of the screen. So here is a flowchart. Hopefully you remember doing flowcharts from your first few lessons on this topic, and this illustrates what selection actually is. It involves the program making a choice. In our program here we can see that we're entering a password. We're getting the user to enter a password, and then the program is going to do two different things depending on whether the user enters the password correctly or not. So we've got a diamond shape here that represents our decision box, and we're saying that if the user does enter the password, that's the correct password, then it's a yes and they have access to the program. Access is granted. Otherwise, else they don't have access to the password to the program because the password was incorrect. So this is what the diamond box means. It means selection means the program's making a choice, and so what will happen is we'll always be asking a question in that box, and most of the time what we'll be doing in selection is seeing if something is equal to or the same as another value. So we can use this in Scratch and in Python, and I'm going to do a very short demonstration in both programs just to show you the kind of thing we can use selection for. Okay, so I've gone into Scratch now to show you a simple program that I've written that will illustrate how selection works. First of all in Scratch, and then we're going to look at it in Python. So in this program it's very simple. The user just gets to enter a choice of shape, either triangle or square, and then if the user selects square, the program draws a square. Otherwise it draws a triangle. Now this program doesn't completely work yet. I've only half finished it, so we're going to finish it off in a second, but just to illustrate what I mean, triangle or square, if I put in square, what we want it to do is to draw a square like that. Now what we also want it to do is to draw a triangle. So we're going to add that part of the program together now. So let's have a look at the code that we've written for the square part of the program. We've got an if block here, and we've said if choice, and choice is a variable here that we're using to store the answer that the user's given. If choice is equal to square, then, so if then, and then it does a little repeat block to draw our square and our line 4 times. So let's add a similar bit of code underneath. I'm going to go to the control block, and you can see I've got if, then, and else. If and then. If then and else is quite useful if you've got lots of choices, if you're going to have it choosing from a range of different options. For the moment I'm just going to work with if, so I'm going to pull that block there, and then I'm going to say I need to choose what I'm going to check, because it's got if something then. So what I need to do is I want it to be if choice equals triangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my operators, look for the equals block, drag that in there, and then the value that I want it to equal is triangle, and then the variable that I'm going to check is choice. So that will then ask the question, is choice equal to triangle, and then if it is, we need to put what it will do, and then what it will do is it will draw a triangle. So the code for that I've already got, and I'm going to just drag it into that block there. Well, let's run it now. So triangle or square, this time I'm going to type triangle, and you can see Scratchcat has actually drawn a triangle. So let's run it again, just make sure it works. Square, and this time Scratchcat's drawn a square. So we've built selection into our Scratch program. Now we need to see how this will work in Python as well, so we're going to have a quick look at a similar program in Python to see how that compares. Okay, so here's our program in Mu, which is going to do exactly the same thing. Now I haven't finished this program. What I've done, if you notice, is I've got it so it will enter, the user can enter whether they want a square or a triangle, and at the moment it just draws both. So whatever they say, whatever they do, so if I put square or triangle, if I type in whatever I type in, actually, it doesn't matter, it will draw both, because no decision is being made. There's nothing controlling whether it draws the square or the triangle. So let's build that code in. So we'll start with the square, and I need an if statement. We'll call it an if statement. So I want to say if choice, which is the variable that we're using to store what the user's choice is, equals, and notice I'm using a double equal sign. If we're using equals in an if statement to check the value of something, we put two equal statements together, equal signs together. So if choice equals, and I'm going to put square, speech marks, and then I put a colon. You must remember the colon. And then what you'll see when I press enter is it indents just like you did when we did loops. And so what that's saying is, please put all the code that will happen if choice is equal to square. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move this code up that I've already got, and I'm going to indent that and set that up. So now if choice equals square, it will carry out these three lines, so it will draw a square. What I also want is for it to draw a triangle if the user enters triangle. So I need to put another if statement in, or I'm going to put, this time I'm going to put an else if in, I think. So or an elif. So else if, that's what elif means. So I'm going to do elif choice equal. You don't have to use elif. We could just have done another if statement there, but I want to show you how to use elif, so I thought we'd go with that one. So elif choice, again two equal signs, equals triangle, and then I need to build in my code for what I want to happen if I want to draw a triangle. So I'm going to do for triangle in range 3, because I'm going to do it as a loop because it's a bit more efficient that way. T dot forward 100, T dot right 120. So hopefully now that's going to do something slightly different. So let's run the program, and let's first of all type square to see if it does a square. And it's just drawn a square. Notice it hasn't done both, it's just drawn a square, so that works. Let's run the program again, second time. This time we're going to type triangle, and this time it's drawn a triangle. So the selection in my Python program is working. So just before we finish, let's just recap what we've got. We've got an if statement that uses two equal signs together to check the contents of a variable, in this case to see if choice equals square. There we could be checking the value of a number if we wanted to. We could also be checking to see if a number was less than or equal or greater than another number. And then what we put a colon at the end, and then indent, and then all the code that we want to happen if this is true. So in this case, in our example here, if choice is equal to square, we draw a square, and then we've got an alternative choice, else if or elif choice, and again double equal sign is equal to triangle. So it employs a very similar principle, and you can see again this code is indented. So have a go and see if you can get selection working in either Scratch or even in Python. Good luck.